stripes, and he took the nails, and he bore all those things for us. 3 days later, up from the grave, he arose. 3 days later, he rose as King of Kings and as Lord of Lords.
Greetings and welcome to Cross Choke episode 42, TFL podcast. My name is Zach Anderson. I'm joined, like always, the Bigfoot himself, Dakota Right-Hand.
What is up, Zachary James?
Oh man, who called? I think my wife called me that the other day. I don't know what I did wrong, but she said Zachary James, and you know, just the little hairs on the back of your neck stand up a little bit.
I wish I had hairs on the back of my neck.
What do you mean? I just called you Bigfoot for a reason. Dude, we just were talking about golf.
So we've been getting into golf recently.
Yeah.
Well, Zach's been into golf for a while, but I've been really getting into it recently. What a fun sport.
It's way funner than you'd think.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like, so I did a lot in like high school, and, you know, I feel like I haven't really gotten much better, but you know, like little by little you get better. But yeah, golf is fun in the heart of, like, you know, it can be really aggravating, you know.
Yeah.
It can easily be aggravating, but like it really helps you not take yourself too serious. And
yeah,
and it's so tough because there's like, you know, you and I say this all the time, like, okay, keep my left arm straight. Okay, big hips. Okay, knees soft. Okay, like shoulder cross, head down. You know,
right.
There's so many aspects of like holding the club and so many troubleshooting things. Like there's so much to like get wrong that it's like really fun in that.
Yeah.
Like your brain can only handle so many thoughts at one time.
And it's very much a mental game.
Yeah. Yeah. Really. And then if you're doing bad and then you're getting frustrated, oof.
Makes it worse.
We were golfing with my dad a couple weekends ago. And I remember I kept towing the ball. You know, and if you're not familiar with what towing the ball is, like there's the heel and the toe of the club face. And the heel, of course, is like where the shaft is and it's like facing you, and the toe is the far side. So if you're towing the ball, you know, it tends to shoot away from you, like not down range, but like, you know, across towards the right of the field. Yeah. Or of course. And so like I just kept towing the ball, and I'm like, and I didn't know why. You know, I remember you were like looking at me and you go, "You okay?" And my face was just like so, not like angry, but like in deep contemplation about my life at that moment. Like, what am I doing?
Thinking about all the points in time that brought you to this moment.
All the crossroads that brought me there. Yeah, but it's good. So you just got a new driver though.
I did get a new driver. It's a cheap one, but
now you got it mailed to you though?
Yeah, I got it on Amazon.
Oh, you got it on Amazon?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Did you have to put anything together, or did it come in like this wild box?
Just a super long box.
Now here's the biggest question. Is it female?
So I'd been golfing with a female driver since I was, 16. But I never realized it until like last year. And it makes sense because there was a little name on it that said, "If lost, return to Linda," whatever.
No way. I didn't know that.
Yeah, but who does that to their clubs? Who loses a golf club anyway?
That you'd have to put like a lost and found thing.
Yeah, it's not like a Frisbee.
No. This one time, Jake and I lost okay, do you say golf or Frisbee golf?
Like, what do I normally say?
Yeah.
Either or.
Are both acceptable? I feel like it made some people that say Frisbee golf will not accept you saying golf.
Oh, I'll say both.
Okay.
But on the East Coast, they say frolf.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Ooh.
Yeah.
But yeah, one time we lost a Frisbee golf disc and it hit a portal.
Yeah.
And was gone.
Yeah.
And maybe if we would have put his name on it,
yeah,
we would have got that back.
But on a club, that seems weird to me.
Yeah.
Why would you be losing your...
Yeah. Oh, I left my driver back there.
I left my $300 driver.
Yeah.
Hopefully someone finds it.
Do you know the brand of your driver?
Yeah. It's called PGX.
Oh yeah, nice.
Yeah.
PXG, PGX.
Something like that.
I think it's PXG.
Something like that.
Let me, hey,
It's green.
my brother worked for them. I think it's PXG. Let's see. Yeah, PXG. Persona Extreme Golf. Does it look like
Yes.
that? Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, PXG. They make good stuff. He worked for one of their facilities in like Phoenix or something.
Well, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, really cool. They make really good stuff. Nice. Well, cool, man.
Well, who taught you how to golf?
My old man.
Yeah.
My old man, he's like, all right, come on, boy. I'm going to teach you. I'm going to teach you how to get this done. But then a buddy of mine in high school that I golfed with a ton, because he was into golf, and then we would just go, and then we would like walk around in like at Stodden, that like fountain pond thing.
Mm-hmm.
We would just golf to that part and then roll up our pants and just walk in there and gather golf balls. Yeah. And nobody ever yelled at us.
That sounds illegal.
Nobody ever said.
Name something that's illegal.
Yeah.
Isn't illegal, but should be.
Should be, yeah. Yeah, we just walked around in there and found golf balls. Like I bet we got like 30 each. And just filled our
And you've
bags.
never had to buy golf balls since.
I wish. I probably lost all those within the next summer, No, but my dad was always just kind of into golf. And then, yeah, we just we had like one of those practice balls. It's like plastic, orange kind of thing. So you could just hit it in the backyard, against
sure.
the house, or whatever. So yeah, we just kind of practice, and he would demonstrate on my GI Joes, like how the swing works, and
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I don't know. He was always into it, so I just kind of never was it's not one of those things to me that was I got into golf when this or
Tiger Woods one.
Yeah, it wasn't wow, I was so inspired by the Summer Olympic golf tournament that I got into it. That's an Olympic sport.
I did, yeah.
It was okay. I watched some of it.
No, I didn't watch it.
I watched some of the women's one. Our Lady was doing really, really good, and then she just fell apart on
Our Lady
one.
of the Rockies.
Our Lady of the Rockies. No, golf's fun, man. But
yeah, that's cool.
yeah, either way, we got to get out more before the summer's over.
True.
True that, bro. Other than that, man, just been cruising along. We got the baby coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, baby's coming in a couple months.
That's really exciting.
Month and a half or so. I hear that once a woman has their child, everything that was wrong during their pregnancy goes away. Did your wife experience anything like that? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Could you name an example?
The morning sickness is one big one.
Oh, sure.
Of course you'd think that would go away. But then also the heartburn.
Yeah.
High blood pressure that my wife's kind of dealt with ever since she's been pregnant. And then weird stuff like a stuffy nose.
Sure.
And, the nausea and all those things. But
I'm sure you'll see most of that stuff go away, but there'll be other things that come up. Because
Sure.
It's even now to the point where medically personnel are calling it the fourth trimester, which doesn't make sense because trimesters are 3, but
What do you mean?
they're calling it the fourth trimester because it's a whole other part of pregnancy with its own set of challenges.
Okay. We went to, we've done 2 classes. So we did one that was just a birthing education one. So they do a full day one, and then they do a 3-hour one. And I was like, let's just do the 3-hour one. But it was actually really, really good. And then we did this other class last night, actually, it's called Spinning Babies. And I think when I said it to you, you're like, what?
Yeah, why are we
It's actually
spinning?
trademarked.
Okay.
It's there's only 2 certified Spinning Babies coaches or whatever in the state. And then they help teach other people. But it's all about exercises you could do for your hips and stuff for pregnancy, and then actual labor. So we brought a yoga mat and stuff, and
That's cool.
all these kinds of things, just to be better prepared.
Yeah.
And to help your baby get into the right position with its head, and
Yeah.
make sure there's enough space in there, and all that kind of stuff.
Dude, I saw a video of a doctor the baby was, I can't remember what they call it, but it was backwards. It was about to head out
feet first, yeah.
And he pushed on her stomach and moved
wow.
the kid
Wow.
into the right position.
That's crazy.
It was wild.
Yeah, I guess that's what there's like three main like positions that like, you know, the woman could do. And like, there's one where like you almost go upside down with your arms on the ground and like it resets like your belly and I don't know, all kinds of stuff. So it was actually pretty good.
That's cool.
But yeah, so we're getting ready for baby, you know, little things like that. But all kinds of seasons, Dakota.
Oh, yeah.
All kinds of seasons. But thanks for joining me today. I miss you.
Man.
I feel like I haven't seen you much lately.
Oh, thanks, brother. Miss you too.
But hey, enough of that, huh?
Yeah.
We'll chat later.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you to our cross show community for making it what it is. We've had a really great year. You know, because we kind of picked things back up last November.
Yeah, about then.
And because I think we had one episode before our Christmas episode, You Filthy Animal. That episode's done really well. It still does well.
That's cool.
Because you like Photoshop me over Macaulay Culkin's in Home Alone. And then there's a cage.
hair.
Yeah, with the hair. And then there's a cage behind me. Like, that was a great one. I couldn't even tell you half the time what we talk about. Like,
Right.
like what did we talk about, You Filthy Animal? I could not tell you right now.
I could tell you.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well,
I just remember.
wow.
It was about.
I just remember. You said
I do.
I just remember.
I do. I don't know why. It was about. It was about like holidays and their origin.
You're right.
And like
Totally.
how they, like how you should celebrate
That's
them
right.
and shouldn't, kind of.
You put a lot of work in on that one because we talked about Easter.
Yeah.
We talked a lot about like the paganisms and
Yes.
and then how you got criticized for celebrating Halloween or something that one
Yep.
time.
Yep.
And how that was good. That was good. And I think the whole heart behind it was like it's between you and God and your family.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good. Okay, nice. All right, how about episode 39,
I
bro?
just
What was it?
remembered. Brain blast.
Oh, episode 39 we recorded on April 13th
At 4 a.m.
at 4 a.m. That would actually be really funny. We've always thrown out the name TFL After Dark.
24-hour challenge. We stay up for 24 hours and then record the podcast.
Hey guys,
It's been 24 hours.
my name's Dakota. What? No, I'm Zach. Yeah, but thank you to our listeners. We're so glad that you're here. We're here to support you in and out of the cage, to live in grace-filled victory. We have Fight Church, and which is our chance to kind of preach the word and teach the Bible, which is we touch on that here, but of course, if you've hung with us this long through this episode, we do more of a conversational based approach to spiritual truths and apply them to our everyday life, and especially in the context of combat sports. And so we upload each and every month on your favorite podcast service of choice. Please, if you can, leave us a review, like, subscribe, share it with your friends. We really appreciate it. And thank you to all of you who support us over at tflministries.com/support. We couldn't do it without you. If you'd like to make a tax-deductible donation, please visit us over there. And just to kind of highlight some of our most recent episodes, Dakota, our last episode, 41, we talked about understanding the Bible and kind of approached it in a way like, okay, what is it? It's kind of scary. There's a lot there. How do I even understand it? And so we went through some kind of really simple way to approach it. What is it? How it's historical documents and how it's God's heart captured by the pens of men, and our responsibility in understanding it and studying it and embracing the struggle. So yeah, we had a lot of good feedback on that episode as well. And then Dakota, we had Fight Church 5. You led us in worship, and then I kind of preached a message on feelings of inadequacy and feeling like you're not good enough, and how really just preaching home like God wants us to live in victory, but the only way that we live in victory is through grace, and God's grace is enough. And so we don't want to worship ourselves and our own self-pity. And so be sure to check that out. We'll also be doing Fight Church 6, September 7th. Will be our day of streaming Fight Church 6. We have a special guest joining us, Dakota, coming on board. It's not you or me preaching this time, and so we'll have a little surprise. It's a mystery. We're gonna have AI preach.
Can I interrupt just for a second?
Yeah.
I went to Taco Bell yesterday.
Dude, It's not even a person.
It's AI taking your order.
Yeah.
And they were so freaking pushy
Oh, were they pushing you?
because it's a whole experience to order your food, you know? It's fast food, whatever.
Yeah, but it's a
drive-thru.
it's a vibe.
And I don't go knowing what I want. I want to.
You're like, give me a sec here. Yeah. What's the $7 box?
But probably 5 times the AI went, "Are you ready to complete your order?" or something like that. They kept changing what they would say. But I was like, "No, I'm not done. Give me a second."
Wow. So I didn't go through there, but my wife did, and she was like, "It was all automated." You know, it was all an AI thing. Was it good? Was it? I mean,
It was
besides pushy,
accurate.
that's yeah. Because my fear would be like it would get something weird.
No.
So does that mean there wouldn't be a person behind a screen touching what you're saying, like putting it in?
I don't think so.
It's doing it by itself.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Which I see the benefit,
Sure.
but
I feel like
I'm a boomer, I guess, and I just hate it.
No, dude, I still hate self-checkout.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate self-checkout. But at the same point, it's fast sometimes.
Oh, I prefer it until you have an issue.
Then you're standing there like a dope.
You scan something twice on accident,
Or I hate when like it shows on screen something that was weird. Does that ever happen to you?
it shows the camera.
Yeah, it shows the camera angle of like, you kind of checked something, but it looks like you didn't.
Yes.
And
so I put sushi in, and then I forgot to put the chopsticks in with it. So I threw the chopsticks in.
and it's like, oh, okay.
Are you trying to steal those free
Okay.
chopsticks?
Yeah. It drives me nuts because it's like it either trusts me to do self-checkout because you're shoving it down my throat or not, and then like, do you remember the days of, it was kind of COVID days, but where that guy would like check your receipt every time?
Oh, I never let him.
Oh, dude. Yeah.
I burst past that guy at Walmart.
Oh, man. Yeah. That drives me nuts. Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah. Well, good stuff. So we have a special guest coming September 7th. Please hang out with us for a church service designed. Again, this is, anybody could join us. I mean, Fight Church is for whoever wants to hang out with us. But again, it's just on the digital space. We stream on Facebook. We stream on YouTube. We stream on our website as well. So we have 3 different ways that you could check it out, that you could feel comfortable. And just, Dakota, usually we're done, under an hour for sure. I mean, usually it's about 45 minutes or so. Not that we're trying to keep it tight, but again, we respect your time.
Exactly.
We respect people's time, and we let worship be as long as it needs to be. We let the message be as long as it needs to be, but everything's intentional, and we keep it pretty sharp. And so, but it's all with you in mind. It's all like on purpose. So, as a combat sports athlete, if you haven't stepped foot in church in a while, if you haven't even really been to church, and you want to be fed, you want to understand the Bible more. We hope that you can trust us, that we've earned your respect, that we've earned the place in your life that you would prioritize 1 hour a month just to hang out with us for Fight Church. And then, of course, Dakota, we upload these things separately, like to where it's, if you want to just listen to the audio, we upload that separately. We upload just the sermon at a later time onto our YouTube. And so we make it as easy as we can for people to check out what Jesus is and kind of life change. So
Absolutely.
So follow us on socials, YouTube, stay up to date on all our content. And then kind of lastly, Dakota, we have a chaplaincy team going to our hometown of Butte for some fights on August 30th, next gen. So we'll have a presence there. We also have some fights September 7th in Helena, September 14th. There's some fights in Billings, September 21st in Great Falls. So September is a lot of fights around the state. And so we're hoping to make a good handful of those, if not most of them. Fighters, keep an eye out for us. We'll be there serving and being in your corner. So Dakota, with that, we have some great discussion. Today we've had some great discussions. We have a great discussion in mind that you've kind of led the way on. And so what do you have for us today?
Absolutely. So today, it's going to be very conversational based, as most of the times when I'm kind of leading our conversation. And I just want to pick your brain about discipleship.
Ooh.
Okay, so let me start the conversation with this question. How important is mentorship in combat sports And how has it shaped your journey as an athlete?
Oh, wow. Good question. I think what wise counsel ensures victory. You know, the more people you have in your corner, usually the better you are. What did we say the other day? I think it was like the fighter is the product of the investments of others.
Yeah.
And you and I have talked about this a lot of like how sometimes the most passionate athletes are the ones without a team or without a mentor, and what we have seen traditionally, and just the pattern of what we've seen through our chaplaincy ministry is that fighter is usually not on the winning side most of the time.
Yeah, definitely.
Because they're going against somebody else who has a corner or has had depth of training,
Mm-hmm.
And so mentorship and coaching is unbelievably important. And it's important that as a fighter, even as a fighter gets better, that they don't lose that heart of mentorship as the mentoree, because as you get better, you're like, it's easy to forget who got you there.
Sure.
And so I think we could see that sometimes too, because as a fighter gets better and better, sometimes they're like, oh, I don't need you anymore, coach, or this coach. And, and sometimes there's of course, a valid argument to, as you get better, sometimes you need a better coach,
Okay.
So there are moments where transitions need to happen, and but you never really forget who brought you to that first part. Or, there's different seasons in a fighter where you fight for different, organizations and stuff and kind of work your way up the ladder. But and especially in my case, I've from a young age really understood the importance of mentorship, and that was put into my training because I started when I was 3. So I've always kind of known a instructor or sensei back in the day,
Mm-hmm.
and I think there's been times in my life where I can relate to that fighter that pushed mentors away, and that was more in the realm of ministry. Not so much the combat sports, but I really experienced what that's like when you push people away and think that you're okay.
Yeah.
And then you end up, the ground below you gets a little bit hollow. And so mentors are there to keep you accountable. Mentors are there to point out things in your life that are wrong, and to point you down the path that's right. Not that they're God, of course, like I'm not, God is God, but he uses people and we need community. Yeah. And I think that's where a lot of fighters might, neglect community in training partners, but also in mentors, man. Absolutely important.
Wow. That was a great answer. So I want to look at the parallels now between the physicality of combat sports and mentorship, but also the spiritual side of discipleship, because I think they kind of go hand in hand.
Sure.
So in what ways do you see similarities between being mentored in combat sports and being discipled in Christianity?
Oh, right on. Yeah. There's so many areas that we're ignorant to, in life, because sometimes we do get gloomy on ourselves, right? But I do think typically we see ourselves better than we are, or are so comfortable with areas in our lives that are easy to get complacent in, and ignore. And they can actually be areas of prevention holding us back from our potential. And so if we're isolated, there are very few people that are self-starters, and, the Goggins is out there, and, like that can really stick to a diet by themselves, or stick to a regiment, or stay in spiritual disciplines, and, like just stay on track, and not only on track, but better, and then better, and then better. And like, with every revelation that you have of truth, whether that be on the mats. So what I'm saying is, like, say you learn a technique or a combination, or, your coach is trying to take you, because again, like a coach's job is to take you from A to B,
Sure.
and then B to C, and then, like continue down the path. And then as you get to Z, then it's like, okay, A1, and then A, there's like so much more to learn. And so your coach or instructor or mentor or therapist or anybody that's involved in your life that's trying to help you is trying to take you from where you are and show you how you can get from where you are to where you can be, and that's you fulfilling your potential and things. And so when you're on your own and you're isolated and or neglecting investment of other people, there tends to be a complacency and a deterioration of our path because there's nobody behind you kind of poking you with a stick or giving you that voice of encouragement or keeping the vision alive in your mind. Yeah. So like, say, for example, you have your New Year's resolution, and we write it down, but nobody ever sees the notebook that you wrote it down in, by Thanksgiving, that would have been a good one. But by February, what am I looking for? Valentine's Day, sure. You're like, what New Year's resolution? So I think it comes back to this community, the ingredients of success, especially on the mats, but also in our life with God and our relationship with God. Success meaning, health, just healthy. Yeah. I think the ingredients are there's always an element of investment of other people. And we see it in the fight game, but also as you just are kind of asking here, like with our walk with God, you're only as strong as your links, and it's so tough because that involves vulnerability. There's so many elements to a healthy community that's like pushing you to go forward because you'll go further with other people than you will by yourselves. Yeah. And I think that's so key on the mats and off the mats, man.
Wow. That's really good. How would a mentor or a disciple maker guide their mentee or disciple?
The word I think of is influence. We all have influence, right? Like I see that with you, especially like on a Sunday morning, and I think maybe you could relate to this with worship, as a worship leader and, facilitator or whatever word you want to throw in there. Mm-hmm. Is you have a lot of influence behind the mic and in your tone and body language, but also in the spiritual influence in your own life. Because like as a pastor, as a preacher, as a worship leader, like the heart of the minister always comes through, and that's influence, and we are influencers regardless of whether we're in the shoes of a discipler or mentee, Yeah. But you have influence regardless. And I think we've talked about how fighters especially have influence regardless if they want it or not.
That's true.
Because they're projected as, and especially by the, like what have we said before? Like, they're projected as like the man, Sure. Is like, this is it, they're the guy, and everybody should aspire to be them and so then that becomes the star status and all these things. And it's really tough. And we see that great fighters aren't always great people. And of course we're in a fallen world and people, we just make bad choices and whatever, but we see this from the UFC to the local one in Deer Lodge yesterday, Yeah. There's good fighters, but not always good people. And so we all have influence, but sometimes we don't use it well. And I think a key part of being a good disciple maker, a good influencer, a good mentee is integrity. You don't have to act like you know everything, but and everybody doesn't need to know every detail of your life. But I think we've defined integrity before as like, what people do know about me matches who I actually am. Yeah. And I think that's a key factor. And I think a big verse that I like is, it's either Psalm 78, 72, or it's Psalm 72, verse 78. I don't know. It's one of those. But it talks about David leading with integrity and competence. And I love that. And that's a verse I try to keep alive in my heart. But leading through integrity, like, okay, there's no wrong that can be said against me that stands, like there's nothing, like I'm totally, living the life and walking the walk. Yeah. And then with competence, it's like, okay, but I'm not just staying there. And this where it comes back to somebody's working on me and discipling me, and I'm doing my part in being competent, meaning like that I'm growing in skill and being able to do that. So I think that verse is really a good key heart for any mentoree or disciple maker.
Wow. Have you ever thought about being in politics?
No.
You're just so good at answering questions.
No, man, I don't know what I'm talking about half the time.
So episode 40, do you remember that one? No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, no.
Okay.
It's in the past. That was probably the greatest episode we've ever done, episode 40.
So we talked about how someone would mentor or disciple another person. Can you share an example of how this guidance has impacted you? Maybe both in sports and in faith, or one or the other?
I think of our academy, teaching the kids, and I oversee our kids' program. That's kind of my main thing. But, as simple as like, I can't teach something I don't do.
Yeah.
And I can only take the kids so far as I can't take them somewhere that I'm not. I can't expect them to do techniques or understand something that I don't understand, you know. Not that it's all on my shoulders, but at the same point, I have to teach as if it is all on my shoulders. So it's important that, again, that I'm not expecting something from someone that I'm not doing myself.
Sure.
So I think that is another avenue that we could, talk about with just to being a good disciple maker and living in integrity. But, as examples go, there's a handful of people, there's always people influencing you, but then there's some people that are like in a deeper circle and a closer circle. And, and then there should always be a handful of people that, that you could call, like, okay, you should have your call friends, like, okay, guys, I'm having a really tough time and I just need to let this off my shoulders or talk to the boys or whatever. And then, so like there's a really important part of letting people get close.
Yeah.
And if you've been hurt by the church or have a grudge against someone, it's really hard to let people close.
Yeah.
And abuse or there's always valid reasons to keep people at an arm's length. But if I have a healthy relationship with God, meaning like I'm working through things and we're all working through things, but it gives me the chance to risk trusting, and that's because I'm relying on God, but I'm like, okay, God, who in my life, or who should I ask, or who should I reach out to try to, build a relationship with? And so there's part of me seeking that out as a mentoree, be like, hey, I'm just looking to talk with somebody about whatever, maybe I want to understand the Bible, or maybe I want to talk about the divorce or how to be a good dad or whatever, finances. And so your local church, a healthy local church, is a good place to start for that. But now in outside of a ministry church world, bringing the church to the people, just being a Christian out there, with reaching out to people to be like, hey, do you want to get a cup of coffee?
Yeah.
Or, and which just sounds like a scary step for a lot of people, because it's like, okay, I don't really know what I'm doing, And so in my experience with things, it's like, okay, I know how I love God and I want to love people and just help point people to Him, And so that there can be casual ways to do that, but relationships are what's important. And that's what I've experienced with the church, is just be a good friend, and you don't have to shove Jesus at people or whatever, but like a great way to kind of get this ball rolling with just being a discipler is just buy Bibles for people.
Yeah.
Be like, hey, do you have a Bible? And then they sell them at Walmart, they sell them everywhere for, $12 or whatever. But it's, that's a great way to just be a friend, but then challenge yourself and be like, hey, do you want to read it with me?
Yeah.
Or like, do you want to read it together? Or like, let's read Mark 1-3 and then talk about it next week over a cup of coffee. What do you learn? What
a simple way to start that discipleship with someone.
Right.
Without the heaviness of being like, God has bestowed upon me to disciple you.
Yeah. And I don't know if you've experienced anything like that, with And I do feel, not to ramble on this point, but I do feel a key part of this is God's heart in you, because that gives you a lot of courage to okay, what if I say something wrong? What if I do something, and of course that's a healthy part of that, but don't let it keep you from trying. Because like Paul said to Timothy at the end of the second book there, he says something like, go on and on, whatever, and work at telling other people the good news. You got to work at it. You got to like just start somewhere, suck at it till you don't.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like it can be as complicated as you want it to be or as simple as you want it to be.
Yeah.
And you don't have to have all the answers. So if you're meeting with somebody like, what does this mean? Or, they might have a question that doesn't even relate to Mark 1-3, but like, I don't know, let's look it up, or I don't know, like you could kind of start anywhere. But I think a huge part of it though is God's heart in you, which is weeping for lost people. And I've been challenged with this just recently reading of like, when's the last time you cried for lost people? When's the last time you wept for missions, or the lack of workers, or, the state of the church, or, the inclusion of so many things that are against the core of the truth of the Bible that are just seeping into the, our world. And, so I think the heart of discipleship is first and foremost our relationship with God, And so I found in the grand scheme of things, when I'm connected to God and have his heart, discipleship and mentoring others flows a little bit more naturally.
Yeah, absolutely. The Father's heart, for sure.
Right.
Is there anyone you want to name drop?
Name drop.
Yeah.
That's like invested into me, or
Yeah.
yeah. There's of course, Pastor Randy, our local pastor, he's put a lot of time into me and to you in a lot of ways as well, with being employees, of course, but there's been a lot that I've learned from him, so like that mentor relationship has been a lot more, I would say, church logistics.
Yeah.
A lot more mentorship and professionalism within the church doors. And a lot of safeguards to live above reproach and stay within integrity in a lot of different ways. So Randy does a really, really good job of that. Our presbyter, so like our state is broken up into, we have our district leader, and then within there's different sections within Montana. Each one of those has a presbyter who's like a representative or pastor of that area of churches who have pastors, and the kind of this hierarchy. But our presbyter, who I've known for quite a while anyways, outside of the presbytery window, Greg Ledgerwood, he's a great man. That's I still meet with him quite frequently. It's been a minute now, but we were meeting like every other month and just catching up on life. I would ask him some ministry questions. He'd ask me some hard questions, challenge me to some things. And I think that's a big, good relationship there, because it's not just me dumping like, oh, here's everything that's going on, Greg.
Like therapy.
It's not, yeah. And if you need that, you need that.
Yeah.
But in terms of like somebody challenging you in spiritual truths, I think that's a big key part of discipleship, is like, okay, you go to God, here's something for you to think about, get over yourself, who's willing to tell you a little bit of the hard truths.
Yeah.
And for them to be able to do that, you have to let them in. You have to have a relationship. And so again, don't keep people at arm's length, because some of us really fear letting somebody in. Some of us fear a voice of reason sometimes. And it takes time, so a lot of us don't want to spend the time, don't want to go for it, don't want to let somebody in. And how can we expect to be a disciple maker if we're not being discipled ourselves too? So there's a lot of different ways, but those are a couple of name drops on my end. But do you have a couple people or someone in your life that's always been a mentor?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd say Joe Epley.
Oh, nice.
Was that person for me when I was young. We had a lot of one-on-one mentorship areas. And like you said, it all started with the relationship first, because you can only let someone can only pour into you as much as you let them in. So he was that person for me. And then I would say Matthew Miller. He was a guy in Billings that really helped me understand guitar in a different way, showed me a side of spirituality that I hadn't thought about before, about because I had a lot of like religious actions and thoughts, but I lacked a lot of the relationship side of Christianity.
Okay.
And he really showed me how to be open to that and not be so like structured in a way where I'm missing out on Jesus in a whole new world.
Bowing your head at the right time.
Exactly. Exactly.
And I had one other person, my first coach or instructor or sensei, whatever, when I was a young boy, George Orcutt, he really, he was the right person at the right time for a long season.
Yeah.
And that was really, he wasn't really a religious man.
Sure.
But he really fostered so many characteristics within me that have carried over into really who I am today in a lot of ways. So I really give him a lot of credit for a lot of things, and so God can use anything, and help sharpening you. But that was an important person in my life too.
That's cool. Okay. Just a couple more questions before we wrap up. What are some common challenges that you face in mentorship in combat sports and maybe even Christian discipleship?
That I have faced personally is the little bit of nasty you got to have.
Sure.
Okay, so what I mean is in coaching someone or in the church, they're very similar this way. You get involved with God. You're like, wow, I've just experienced, new life and this is such a high. This is like the best thing that ever happened to me. And they're right. Okay. Sometimes somebody that steps foot in jujitsu class or, whatever, like it's almost the same similar heart of like, this is awesome. I love jujitsu. I love choking someone. I love getting choked. This is great. Like, and it can be such a joy. And so in my mind, it's like this little graph, of like an up. And so things are going up, I'm involved in the church. I love worship. There's all these other people love God too. This is crazy. Right. And we get kind of like this high, and I'm on the mats, other people training. There's a schedule all week. I got a gi, and all this joy that can happen. And then that kind of goes away when we have the realities of just the day to day, and that can happen sometimes for people. That happens a little quicker, sometimes a little bit more down the road. And we kind of plateau on that up the graph, so things kind of flatten out a little bit. And then we start to see how difficult jujitsu is. And we start to compare a little bit more, or wish we were along a little bit further than we were. And we wish we, okay, things aren't making sense now a little bit with how my life's still pretty tough, but God's still my God, and we could kind of start to be a little bit less fiery for God. And, things can start to kind of actually go down a little bit, not necessarily in our intimacy with God, but we could start to kind of come off the mountain back to the valley a little bit. Mm-hmm. So in our jiu-jitsu journey in combat sports, or with our relationship with God, that's where you gotta have that little bit of determination of reality. Mm-hmm. Because in reality, because it's not always going to be a joyous, happy day at church, or, your Bible time's not going to be, always what you want it to be sometimes, because it's important that we have that little bit of nasty, meaning like, okay, I'm going to continue to pursue God because he's worthy of me, and so it's important that in our early walk with God that we understand the core truths of, okay, God's not just here to make me happy, and I think it's important that churches are communicating these things all the time, like it's okay. It's about a relationship. It's about growing in purpose and being a light in a dark world. And, all the things of like, okay, life still might be tough. And we preach on this in Fight Church. And that's why a lot of ways why we created Fight Church is to be a little bit more intentional about preaching like, okay, life still might suck. The storms are still there, but God is the same. Yeah. And he loves you and he's for you and he can be trusted. And we learn things through the storm, and the storm functions as a way of glorifying him and all these things of like just life. And so as a mentoree or a discipler or a coach, I find a lot of the difficulties come when reality sets in. You know, you've had your free week trial and now you're in the grind of it. And a lot of people quit in jujitsu. And sometimes this is about the blue belt area in jujitsu is they get their blue belt. There's a little bit of an accomplishment and they could end on a high note when they were really just hoping to last till they got their blue. Or, you know, you stick it out and we see a lot of people that like get a little bit more seasoned that understand that jujitsu is not always a high, but it's in a lot of ways resembles life because it's tough and it's gritty, you know, and in the same way our walk with God is too. And we can't live on an illusion that it's always going to be a balloon birthday party. And that's when it gets tough. And so as a mentoree, it's important that that's communicated. And a lot of people just drop off that. What if they came to church one more time?
Yeah.
What if they would have just come one more time? You know, what if they would have come to one more class? What if they would have just invested in a Bible study one more time?
Sure.
And that could have been the turning point. And so as a mentoree, that's really, really hard because you're investing in these people and some people just drop off, you know?
Yeah.
And so that's a struggle because you can't be emotionally attached to the point of where your identity is dependent upon those that you're mentoring or coaching. Because you could get really weird and manipulative and like, you know, my self-worth is dependent upon all the people that I'm teaching, you know, and when people aren't showing up, the coach can just be passive aggressive,
Sure,
and a little manipulative and like give stripes or belts away too soon.
Oh, sure.
To keep somebody around when they're getting promoted when they shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Or keep them as a paying customer. You know, oh, I'm going to give you another stripe. Oh, you coming by tomorrow? It's stripe day. Yeah, you know, we're giving out sprinkles tomorrow. You know, and so in the spiritual world, we could do that.
Yeah.
You know, not in the same way, but like, I feel like sometimes churches excuse party time for community when it's really about keeping people entertained. There's sometimes I feel like that line can get a little weird. But of course, like, hey, we want to have fun together.
Yeah.
You know, but I feel like sometimes those can be a little emphasized more than feeding sheep, you know, of some hard truth. So
That's good. You know, earlier you talked about like the stick in the back of someone. I just had this image in my mind. You know how Paul talks about like the thorn in his flesh.
Oh, sure.
I wonder if that's kind of like on the same thing. Because,
Right.
He asked God to take it away and God told him, no, I'm not going to take it away. And it kind of like egged him on and pushed him on.
True.
In a different way. And I wonder if that's kind of a part of mentorship or coaching is you're kind of that nasty in someone.
Dude, that's
with
true.
The stick.
Yeah, poking and prodding them.
You know.
Yeah.
Come on, you can do one more push-up.
Exactly. Exactly.
Do two more.
Lord, take it away, please.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say like thinking about mentorship, one of the biggest challenges I see is that it costs time.
Right.
And time is the currency that is most valuable in life. And we can be so selfish with it and want to hoard it.
Right.
But you have to give it up. And sometimes you spend all this time with someone, mentoring them, and it's like all for nothing.
Yeah.
And you just wasted all of this time with no, you know, results that you wanted. But other times it's an investment.
Yeah.
You put that little bit of time into the savings account and you're getting a little bit of return, but maybe you put a lot of this time into a CD account and all of a sudden you have $1 million. You know, who knows? It's an investment.
And you never know. You never know, you know, because you can't like manipulate results either.
Yeah.
In someone. And it's tough though, because you want the best for them and you want to see them succeed. And it's really pure motives don't always result in fruit of your labor.
Yeah.
And that's just a tough pill to swallow as a missionary, as a, you know, as a tooler of the ground.
I mean,
Tiller of the ground. What's the term there?
I hope not tooler, because that sounds really mean.
Till the ground. Because again, we might plant the seed.
Yeah.
We might water the seed, but God decides when it grows.
Exactly.
And a seed might have been planted years ago. They fell apart, and you're like, wow, I even forgot they existed.
Yeah.
And but God still sees them.
Absolutely.
So we have to trust God in that,
Yeah.
Even though it's can be a killer.
Yeah.
Well,
I just want to kind of wrap everything up with this simple question. What does the Bible say
Sure.
about the similarities between mentorship and coaching in the combat sports realm and discipleship in the Christian standpoint? And first and foremost, I just want to say that Jesus is the ultimate example of discipleship.
Right.
Matthew 4:19 says, "And he said to them, 'Follow me, and I will make you fishers of men.'" Because Jesus calls his disciples to follow him and learn from him and eventually lead others.
Yeah, right.
Secondly, the Bible says this a really popular verse, a verse used a lot in the Christian world, one that you should really have equipped in your tool belt,
Right.
memorized, is Matthew 28:19 and 20. And it says, "Go therefore and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, teaching them to observe all that I have commanded you, and behold, I'm with you always to the end of the age." And this passage really emphasizes the responsibility of Christians to make disciples by teaching others what they have learned from Christ. And I think that's a really key point, because let's look at it in the combat sports world. You've learned all of this really cool stuff about jiu-jitsu, for example. You've learned the buggy choke. You even implemented it 2 times in the same place.
Right.
And you've learned all of these cool things, and you have all these tools on your belt. And but then what's it all for if you're not able to utilize that in someone else and pour into someone else?
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
Because I mean, at the end of the day, and this might be a little depressing or distraught, but at the end of the day, there's 2 numbers and a dash on your gravestone, and it doesn't, the numbers on the end don't matter. It's what you did in the dash. So
yeah, that's good.
I mean, you're not gonna take all of the buggy chokes and cross chokes into the afterlife. You need to be passing that stuff on to other people.
True. Yeah, like knowledge isn't meant to be hoarded and held tight, but shared.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good.
So then lastly, in wrapping up about what does the Bible say, I love to look at the relationship between Paul and Timothy, and you even touched on it earlier as well. And Paul says this in 2 Timothy 2:2, "What you've heard from me in the presence of many witnesses, entrust to faithful men who will be able to teach others also."
Wow.
And so Paul's saying, teach so that those can teach, so that those can teach.
Yeah.
And Paul instructs Timothy to pass on what he's learned to reliable people who can then teach others, creating a chain of discipleship. And again, you talked about the strength in our chains, in those links, and it all just correlates so well.
It really does. It's how the church works. It's how it works.
Yeah, and it's how it has to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I just want to encourage you as our listener today, that if you don't have someone in your life that is discipling you or mentoring you, I'd encourage you to seek one out. Try to find a healthy person, and sometimes you think the right person discipling you is there and it doesn't work out, and that's okay.
Yeah.
There's other people out there too. So don't be afraid to, like Zach said, let someone in more than arm's length. Don't be afraid to do that. And I want to encourage you to seek out the one true discipler and the one true coach and mentor today, who's Jesus. And he's the ultimate discipleship choice. And submitting to him is challenging, but it's so rewarding. And I feel like sometimes the Holy Spirit can be that person with the stick in our back, egging us on.
That's right. Yeah. And should be.
Maybe you shouldn't have done that. Maybe you should have done 5 more push-ups. Sometimes the Holy Spirit talks to us like that. But in the end, it's the best decision you'll ever make. It might be challenging, hard, but it's so rewarding. So yeah, I would encourage you, find that mentor. Maybe it's someone in your local church. Maybe it's a Christian in your local gym.
Right.
And just start that conversation with them, and begin to ask hard questions and let them ask you hard questions.
Right. That goes both ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Right on. Yeah. And so, thanks for putting that together, Dakota. Really good job.
Absolutely.
Really good stuff. And
Thank
so
you.
as we end every episode,
Yeah.
our walkout song of the month.
Yeah. Yes.
It's always our walkout song of the week. What am I saying? But what do you got for us? I see in our shared notes here.
Yeah. So this is a song that actually means a lot to me. I just really love this band called Waverly.
Okay.
They were around in like the late 2000s for a while. And this track is so cool because it's at the beginning of their album. And the first part, this would be so epic to walk out to, because the first song on the album is this orchestral strings,
Okay.
like really symphonic, and
we share that. We share that love.
we do, yes. And it's so beautiful, and it's like about 30 seconds long, and then it just starts to amp up, and they start playing really interesting chords, and it's like really eerie.
Oh.
And then all of a sudden the second track just hits and it goes right into it, and it just power chords on the guitar.
Bro.
And it's like really intense.
All right.
And it's really heavy, and I felt like we do a lot of rap or have in the past, and
Yeah.
I just wanted something more like guitar driven, and
Right on.
yeah.
Something real.
Yeah, so this song is called, real, exactly. This song is called Mad Men by Waverly.
Well, Dakota, that's all we got for this episode,
That's
brother.
it.
Bigfoot. Bigfoot.
And that's not because of his feet are big, it's because he's got hair on the back of his neck.
That stands up when there's his middle name, Dakota Ori.
Dakota.
Ori Melvin, right?
That's
Ori
me.
Melvin. Ori Melvin.
Melvin.
Well, Ori Melvin, it's been a pleasure.
Thanks, James.
That's weird. Oh, we hope everybody's had a great day.
Great day.
We'll catch you next
Next
time.
Thank you so much for listening to Crosschoke. It was a blast creating this episode, and we hope you enjoyed listening. Submit any fun questions, inquisitive comments, serious requests, or hilarious stories to tflministries.com/podcast. Feel free to follow Zach at Ando Butte and myself at South for a Day. Have an amazing day and join us next time on Crosschoke.